I reduce my carbon footprint for future health? What local projects boost community wealth and sustainability? How can national policies ensure renewable energy growth? How can I reduce my carbon footprint for future health?
But a triangular shaped pillar which holds a building together in its minimal form of support is the three pillars of health, wealth and spiritual well-being. Now, without all these three pillars, a human life does not mean much. As we've understood, if you have absolute wealth and if you have no health and spiritual well-being, it is a kind of meaningless life. It is also to do with health. If you're completely focused on health and do not have wealth and spiritual being, it is a meaningless life. And also it's the same with spiritual well-being. If you have just spiritual well-being and do not have wealth and health, also it becomes a life which is meaningless. So the essence of a good and prosperous life in its true form is health, wealth and spiritual well-being. Now, how do we achieve health, wealth and spiritual well-being in this world? As we've understood, it's a kind of delicate balance, but it is a balance which must be lived by every human on earth. At least it should be a motivation to live such a life. As we've understood before, sometimes you will go off track, like a tightrope walker or someone who's surfing the waves of life. You might go off track while you're surfing the waves, but you will have to come back to your surfboard again, surf the waves in its best form. So it might be a delicate balance, but it should be a life which is lived with health, wealth and spiritual well-being being the cornerstone of someone's aim in life. No one can aim just for money and wealth alone. It will turn into the most unfulfilling life, a life of deprivation, if you're going to focus on money and wealth alone. It's the same with the other two concepts. Health and spiritual well-being does not have much meaning without appropriate wealth. So, wealth essentially is a combination of all three forms of monetary, material, goodness and to some extent abundance of wealth, material wealth which you can select for your own use. You do not have to be ostentatious, or you can choose to be to some extent at some occasions, but essentially you'll know the value of money. You will know the value of health. You will know the value of spiritual well-being as a combination to help us be in sync with the universal energies of life. We must understand that the earth and all of the planets and all of the systems of life which we see around us, which includes the oxygen, the water, the basic systems of life which keeps us on earth, the gravity, and also on a different sphere, the planets moving around the sun, the earth being a part of it, is all moving in a balance. Without that kind of intricate balance, which is the essential truth of the universe, we will not survive in this world. Our life will turn meaningless.
How can I reduce my carbon footprint for future health?
Our only option is to live a life of balance and leave a mark on earth for the future generations, for their benefit, for their prosperity. And in doing so, our lives are not uplifted, as we mentioned in the previous video channel. But in this channel, we're going to focus on investment in health, wealth and spiritual well-being. So when you are looking at any kind of investment in any kind of company, be it on a monetary level by which you're buying a business, be it on a level by which you're buying a stock of a business within a company, your first priority is to understand whether this company is helping the health, wealth and spiritual well-being of the future generations.
How can I reduce my carbon footprint for future health?
And once you associate with such companies by understanding the present business, are they ethical? Are they doing business in a clear and precise form? Is their books of value absolutely clear? Can you know everything about their profit, loss, about the management, about how the company is run? Once you get the basics of a company and the value within the stock markets, once you get to know whether the company has substantial foundation to help it prosper in the present by being in a business which helps the present generations and also which will help the future generations, and also it's doing the best ethical business and a business which is needed and solving a problem of the masses. Not a business which has got into intricate competition, which is trying to survive. A business which has got a unique USP, unique selling product, and which is strong within its foundation. Once you study such companies, and then you make your investment in the stock markets might fluctuate. That is not your botheration. Be very clear that once you make an investment in the stock markets, try and hold it for the next 10 years. Once you've understood a company by its basics, by the promoters, by the management, by the quality of the product, by how it is solving problems within the present times to a large section of people, and also which will solve problems into the future. Once you go with the right kind of companies in terms of selection and invest, not just in the stock market, but also in the physical world, you're investing not just to make money, you're investing in health, wealth and spiritual well-being for yourself, and also you're contributing in the present for the well-being of our planet, for solving challenges of our very existence in our world today, and also helping the future generations. Let's invest in the best companies, in the best ideas, in the best professions. Let's invest our time, profession. Let's inculcate the sense of being along with health, wealth and spiritual well-being as the basics for the children of the future and our present. Let's replenish our earth.
How can I reduce my carbon footprint for future health?
We must understand that in the prayers that we pray, one of the most important aspects is for us to have health, wealth and spiritual well-being. We might pray all kinds of prayers. Our religious beliefs are in turn on an individual level to give us a good quality of life on earth, with all that is associated with goodness, and most of our prayers is to achieve that form of goodness. We must understand that if we are praying only for material possessions, it will be a one-sided energy which we are trying to seek from the universal source code of creation or God of our faiths. When we pray, and in most of our prayers of humans all across the world, what is really concealed within those prayers in terms of wanting a good quality of life on earth is health, wealth and spiritual well-being, and a balance of this. So, essentially, everyone's life, right from a young age, should be tuned towards this goal in terms of the learning, in terms of the knowledge accumulated, in terms of different fields of study and the professions which people undertake. The essential basics will remain the same, and this must be understood in clarity. Most people and most of the knowledge as of now is being dedicated exclusively to material gains, and it's a kind of recipe for disaster, just like one of the pillars missing from the three pillars of health, wealth and spiritual well-being. Without one of those pillars, all of the building collapses. So what's important is to have all three pillars working simultaneously together in one's life.
How can I reduce my carbon footprint for future health?
You cannot just achieve one and then try to get the other at the next stage, or try to get another at another stage. All three must work together, and that is the essence of a good life on earth. That is the essence of spirituality. That's the essence of most of the religions on earth. Seeking the higher power of the universal energy of the source code of life, the energy of creation of our earth and all of the energy systems around us. As humans, we seek that balance. And let everything that we do on earth be a clear definition in terms of what we try to do. So essentially, when you're trying to start a business, when you're trying to go ahead in life, map out how you would develop your health, how you would get the best source of income, working along with the universal energies of life, helping the very oxygen and water that we breathe, and solving problems for the future generations. And this in turn becomes a spiritual force which drives you to be along with the source code of life, empowering your life into the future and in terms of blessing in the present. Let our lives be with health, wealth and spiritual goodness. The three pillars of divine well-being.
How can I reduce my carbon footprint for future health?
Reducing your carbon footprint for future health is also on an individual level, on a societal level, and also as a nation and the whole world. So let us first discuss as to what is essentially reducing your carbon footprint. Carbon footprint is the waste matter that you produce which does not degrade and become one with the soil or one with the environment. So the carbon footprint that we leave behind is that essence of what we live and which pollutes the environment in terms of our life and living.
How can I reduce my carbon footprint for future health?
We must know that we are having a life now because there was sustainability. The generations before us lived a life so that they could prosper, and also they had some sort of consideration for the future generations. And in doing so, we are living a good life now. We are breathing a good quality oxygen, water. We have all the essentials of life, which is most important, and with those essentials, we can have wisdom and prosper. Now, if we are going to live a life by which we are going to pollute the environment, creating excess of carbon dioxide without having enough of trees to produce oxygen, felling down trees and using it without any kind of consideration for the future generations, or polluting the environment with carbon gases, or having policies which does not consider the very basic oxygen that we breathe, or the water that we drink, or the life systems which is sustained, which includes the birds, the plants, the forests, the trees, the mountains, the ecosystems, the rains. If we are not considerate of these things, we are having a negative carbon footprint.
How can I reduce my carbon footprint for future health?
But if we are going to be considerate, we will start on an individual level. We will see that we are living in harmony with nature. And living in harmony with nature is the most wisest and most beautiful thing that we can do for our lives. You see some of the most developed countries across the world, especially in Europe. Take it, for example, Switzerland, Austria, and so. They have environments by which nature is preserved along with the best of corporates. They have the best of gardens, they have the best of forests to a large extent. And it is well preserved. It's a sign of advancement. So let us have a clear system of knowledge by which we live along with the environment and prosper, because that is the surest way to health, wealth and spiritual wellness for ourselves in this life, and also we're contributing to the future generations, by which they will thank us in future. Let's replenish our earth.
What local projects boost community wealth and sustainability?
The local projects that boost community health and sustainability can be started by an individual or a society or a nation, or for the well-being of the whole world. But it starts on an individual level. Everything which progresses into goodness for the well-being of the society and the planet starts from a clear definition of a life lived in goodness with the environment. There was a very great agriculturist around 700 years ago, and on an individual level he had the best of agriculture and vast areas of land. Around 50 or 100 acres during those times, around 700 years back, was a large area for agriculture. The only way which they could sustain the crops was mowing in their horses and seeing that the fields were cultivated in greenery. They would move across different parts of the fields and see that the land was cultivated, the soil was fertile, there was different terrains by which they moved on horses.
What local projects boost community wealth and sustainability?
They could sense the purity of the soil and see that the crops were cultivated accordingly. They could sense the atmosphere of the air, the clouds, and know when the rains were coming. There were no modern instruments in those days. They could sense the wind blowing and know what kind of crops had to be planted for the environment, climate, and the soil. And when they cultivated, they did things with a clear intention to go one with nature, to cultivate and be friendly with the environment which provides them with the life. And this agriculturist, who owned just 100 acres around 700 years ago, grew the best of crops without any kind of modern technology as we see today. He grew the best of mushrooms, rice fields he had at a different area. And the best part of it was the entire family was involved in the cultivation. He had his wife and 7 children, and all of them worked in sync together. And the education of the children was also one within the farm. They grew along with the animals. They also studied in their own way. They did not go to very big schools as we see today or environments, but there were education system by which knowledgeable people were present in those areas, and those children would go and learn and then come back and also work on a practical way in their fields and get to know the systems of agriculture, get to know how the soil nourished the plants, how the cultivation blossomed for the future generations. They did the agricultural systems and the cultivation in a way that they learned along with what they were doing as a family to survive, thrive and evolve as a...
What local projects boost community wealth and sustainability?
And when they were cultivating, they knew everything about agriculture, about cultivation, about the different crops, about the environment, about their relationship with nature. This must be the same example in our modern day. We must be one with nature. We would have all kinds of advancements. Today we have the greatest of technologies, the quantum computers, the supercomputers, the deep learning, and with the assistance, We must be one with nature. We must enhance the environment which we live. We must know that the quality of air and the water is the basics for life, irrespective of the technological advancement into the future. Let's replenish our earth.
How can national policies ensure renewable energy growth?
National policies to help renewable energy to thrive and evolve into the future must be a priority for every nation, for every government, for every systems of administration, because that is the only future in terms of the energy systems of life. Anything which we do to take out carbon from within the earth's grounding or digging down deep into the soil, producing oil, or anything which is limited in terms of fuel reserves within the earth, and then burning it and producing carbon dioxide as a byproduct of the fuels, will only harm the environment. It does not mean that we do not take out the oil from the ground systems. It does not mean that we do not refine the oil. It means that we have a sensible way of doing it. It means that we do it along with a consideration for the future generations in terms of the quality of life, in terms of the air that they breathe, in terms of the oxygen that they breathe, in terms of the water that they drink. We must produce the best of oil in a way that the future generations will thank us for the clean energy systems that we produce, the technologies that we enable so that the oil does not pollute the environment. The carbon fumes were limited in such a way by use of technology by which it did not affect the environment, not just for the present generation but also for the future generations. And a priority in terms of clear definition of renewable energy for a nation is the basic foundation of the energy of life of a nation. When you have the cleanest of energy sources within the nation, be it also with oil.
How can national policies ensure renewable energy growth?
Carbon energies which we find, it must be used along with technology which makes sure that the environment is not harmed in a way, or there's a balance by which if there are certain levels of pollution, it is counterbalanced by maybe, for example, planting thousands of trees and producing better oxygen. We can have technologies moving in sync with carbon fuels, and also we should have an impetus to give priority to renewable energy, because that is the only mantra, that is the future of energy for the future generations, for the present generations. Renewable energy in terms of wind power, atomic power, energy systems which will be developed into the future, which will not pollute the environment. The battery systems for the best of cars, for the best of trucks, which will evolve with technologies into the future. We will have batteries which will not be recharged for the next 100 years. Such technologies will evolve into the future,